I still remember the smirk on his face. The kind of smirk that says, "You're nothing." We were sitting in a private dining room at a country club I didn't belong to. The kind where the wine list doesn't have prices. My wife had introduced him as Uncle Daniel. He wasn't really her uncle, just her mother's cousin, but he carried himself like bloodline royalty, son of a bank president, wore arrogance like a tailored suit. He leaned back, sipped his wine, and asked me where I went to school. High school, I said. I didn't elaborate. The pause was short, but it was enough. His eyes flicked to his parents seated across from us. A glance, a smirk, then the quiet, shared laugh of people who think they've just confirmed a suspicion. His mother said, "Well, not everyone's meant for higher education." His father chuckled. "Yes, some people just aren't built for certain circles." My wife laughed with them, not nervously, not to smooth it over. She laughed with them. That's when I knew something had shifted between us. Something she hadn't told me. I didn't defend myself, didn't list the companies I owned, the patents in my name, the fact that I'd started with nothing and built an empire most Ivy League graduates would die to run. I just smiled as if their approval meant something. That's when Uncle Daniel asked which bank I used. "Yours," I said. He grinned like a wolf. "Then you're in good hands." "No," I said, still smiling. "I think I'll close my account." The table burst into polite laughter. Daniel's father shook his head. "We have clients worth hundreds of millions, son. You think closing your account would mean anything?" I didn't answer. I just nodded. The kind of nod you give when you've already decided how the story ends. My wife's betrayal wasn't just that night. That was just the moment I saw it. In the weeks after, I noticed the late night calls she wouldn't explain. The dinners, she said, were with friends, but she came home smelling like his cologne. Not Daniel's, but someone's. When I asked, she said I was paranoid. I'd built my life on reading people, on spotting the tiny cracks they thought were invisible. She'd forgotten that. So I watched. I waited. I didn't argue. I didn't confront. I started moving pieces quietly. First, I called my private banker. Not the one at their institution, but the one who handled my offshore assets. I instructed him to begin liquidation. Not all at once. Quietly across multiple accounts. Every transfer routed through a web of shell corporations I owned under other names. Then I hired a forensic accountant. Not for me, for them. I wanted to know exactly how Daniel's father ran the bank. I wanted the weaknesses, the debts they'd hidden from regulators, the backroom deals that would collapse under public scrutiny. I got all of it. 3 months in, I had the full picture. Their institution was not as bulletproof as rewrite this complete script, not short, write in different words without heading. They never imagined I'd actually do it. One massive withdrawal from a premier account like mine could set off internal alarms, send them scrambling to cover themselves. I knew this. I'd been their prized client for years, letting the balance grow quietly, biding my time. The day I chose to act was a Tuesday morning in late October. Muted skies, still air, the kind of day no one expects to be shaken to its core. I walked into the bank's main branch without calling ahead, without any hint of what was coming. Through the glass on the second floor, I caught sight of Daniel's father in his office. His eyes met mine for half a second before he deliberately looked away. The branch manager approached, his voice thick with that polite condescension reserved for people they think aren't worth real attention. I slid the withdrawal paperwork across the desk. "Everything," I said. He glanced down, read the number, and his face lost all color. "Sir, that's not something we can do it," I said evenly. Moments later, Daniel's father appeared in the lobby, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Why don't we discuss this in my office?" "No," I said, calm but firm. "Here is fine." By then, a few employees and even some customers had started to notice. I kept my voice low, but each word was deliberate and sharp. "I told you I'd close my account," I reminded him. "You laughed." He muttered about liquidity issues, about timing, about how this would cause temporary difficulties for the bank. I didn't flinch. I signed the final authorization. The wire transfers took just under half an hour. The funds, $7 billion, were routed to accounts I'd already prepared in Zurich, Singapore, and the Cayman Islands. By the time he looked up from the documents, the money no longer existed in their system. Within hours, the news had broken. Their stock began to slide, market analysts whispered about confidence problems. And by the following morning, rival banks were circling. A week later, regulators announced they were opening an investigation. That was the financial blow. But the real sting came later. 2 weeks after the withdrawal, I attended a charity gala, same country club, same crowd of smug faces. This time, I didn't walk in alone. The woman on my arm wasn't my wife. She had filed for divorce the day after I moved the money, assuming she'd walk away with half. She had no idea most of my assets were beyond her reach. I walked straight to their table, Daniel, his parents, and the board members who once treated me like a trophy they owned. I leaned forward with a smile. "I heard about the liquidity problem," I said lightly. "That's rough." Daniel's father's hands trembled. His mother's expression tightened as if she'd bitten into something sharp. Daniel opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "Oh, and Zurich sends its regards," I added before turning to leave. I didn't raise my voice, didn't threaten anyone, didn't boast about what I'd done. The newspapers handled that part for me. The divorce went through quietly. She kept the house. I let her. It stood as a monument to what she'd given up for a seat at their table, for a few shared laughs at my expense. People sometimes ask if I regret it. I don't. I didn't destroy them for revenge's sake. I simply gave them a taste of what it feels like when someone they dismissed decides to take action. True revenge isn't loud or chaotic. It's measured, surgical, precise. And when it's done right, all that remains is the hollow silence where their laughter used to be.